so we'll wait a few minutes. Hello everyone, we will start in a few minutes and wait till everyone joins. So please stay. Thank you. Okay, so I hope everyone can hear me. So, hello everyone, and welcome to the seminar based on the topic Bridging the Gap Between Graduation and Your First UX Job, hosted by the SLIIT Women in Fast Community. So, on behalf of the SLIIT Women in Fast Community, we are thrilled to have you here. So, our speaker for today's live session will be Ms. Nadeeka Athukorala, a UX UI interaction designer of mobile R&D at IFS. So today she'll be showing you what it takes to cross over a bridge of a fresh graduate and a professional UX designer. Miss Nadika, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we dive into the session, I'll give you a brief introduction about myself. So, I'm Nadeeka. I'm your guest speaker for this session. I was also a software engineering graduate from SLIIT. And let's move on to our presentation. Uh, I hope everyone can see the presentation. All right. Sure. Okay. There's a difficulty for me in sharing my screen. Let me try again. Let's wait for a bit. All right. So we are back. So we'll start with the session. So, sorry about the difficulty we had earlier. So we'll start with the introduction again. So I'm also a graduate from SLIIT. I graduated from software engineering department. And a little bit about how my UX journey went. I started as a trainee UX engineer uh, with 99X Technologies, and after completing my internship, I joined back with Soft, and there I spent 3 years and was promoted to UX engineer. And currently, I'm working as a UX interaction designer at IFX. Um, so, without a further ado, let's dive into our topic, bridging the gap between graduation and your first UX job. So, uh, if we look at this diagram, one can think of your journey to get your first UX job as something like this. It could be you starting as an starting off as an undergraduate, and then you graduate, and then get giving uh, going through a job search and landing on your first UX job. For someone else, it could be something like this: you you are undergraduate, and then you start a job search while you are in the university, and then you land on an internship or a part-time job, and then after finishing that, you go back to university, graduated, and then if you need, you again search for a job and get a US job. For another person, it could be something like this: starting off as an undergraduate, and then you get a job or an internship in parallel, and graduating while having a job, and they might get into job market to search for another position in UX. So as we could see in all those scenarios, job search was something that the all the people, regardless of the path they selected, had to go through. So when we are searching for a job, what we are actually searching for? If you have already done a job search, you might have realized that there are a lot of job titles in the UX related uh, job vacancies or in the UX field. So it could be UI designer, interaction designer, UX engineer, UX designer, and some things like searching for UX unicorn. Those things you might have already seen. This is an example of what a client might think of all those titles, but I think we can also relate if as a beginner UX, when we hear all those uh, titles, we might get confused a little bit uh, what actually these titles are standing for. So let's have a look. The first thing you have to do is learn about the jobs in the fields of user experience. That might take a little bit of research. Uh, you can start with reading the job descriptions that are with each of those job vacancies, and also you can do your own research. For example, I have taken these three most common UX uh, roles, starting with interaction designer, visual designer, and the UX engineer. For example, interaction designer is someone who focuses on designing the experience of the product and how it functions, and they strive to understand the user flow or path or user takes the typical user takes to complete a task on app, website, or other platform. Visual designer is someone who focuses on the typography, the font colors, the layouts of the UI, and etc. UX engineer is someone who makes sure that the designs that are intended are functioning and providing the experience that are intended. So these are only three examples. How you can learn about those the each job title is by doing your own research, and if you have a UX module, these might get also covered by them, or you can simply follow the online courses that are available and get yourself educated on what each of these titles means. So if you know the basics uh, of these titles, it will help you to understand even when you came across something really ambiguous. And another reason why you should learn about these jobs is when you know what skills a particular job role is involved with, you can reflect back on yourself and think whether you are aligning well with that job title. So we started with a diagram like this, where you just graduate and you search for a job and apply and you get the UX job. But now, with what we just discussed, it has become something like this, where you have the job search and you do the job search and you realize that there are various types of job roles in the fields of user experience design, and you start learning about those job titles in the user experience. Let's see what's the next step. Learn and practice your skills. So, with the last step, you learned about those job roles and the skills and competencies that are needed for those job roles. And you had some time to reflect back on yourself and realize whether you have a certain skill, whether you are enthusiastic about those skills, uh, and etc. So, it's time for you to take time and work on the skills that you need to improve further. You can start by reading and learning about UX and the roles you are expecting for. It could be by reading the books. There are a lot of references on the internet about what are the ideal books for a beginner to read, and there are also online resources like the Nelson Norman Group website and their YouTube channel, and the Medium articles written by many of the UX designers, and also the UX publications. Another way to learn and practice your skill is by getting hands on experience. This is a broader topic, how to get hands on experience. So, if you don't have a job, how do you get experience? You can start by starting your own project. You can come up with an idea and follow the things that you have already learned about UX, the the design thinking process, and in the and you can also apply the tools that you learned uh, and start your own project. It could be a day-to-day problem that you face, or it could be some imaginary problem. Also, you can practice the actual UX skills while you are doing your university projects. Those will also help in future when you want to show some proof about your work. Another way you can get hands-on experience is learning design tools by trying to copy existing designs. You may already see that there are a lot of daily UI challenges going on, and there are a lot of negative and positive comments about it. But as I see it, it's a good way for you to practice any tool that you prefer to use, or that a tool that a particular job requires. It could be Adobe XD or Figma, Sketch, or anything. But you can try to copy already existing designs by using those tools so you get familiarized with them. Another way is to find volunteer UX projects. There are a lot of volunteer UX projects uh, that you can find on internet. You can try applying to them, and if you get a chance, uh, since nowadays a lot of things are remote, you can get experience through them. And if you like to spend some money on it, even there are free online courses, you can follow an online course and do those activities that they ask you to do and collect them as a proof of your skills. And if you find some freelance projects, those are also a very good way to collect experiences and collect proof of your work, of course, with the consent of the client that you work for, so that you can present them when you are hunting for a permanent job. Another way to learn and practice your skills is by start networking. To start networking, you can join design communities and interact with other designers on social media platforms, and also practice for design participate for the design meetups. With with these, you will gain access to the insider knowledge of the UX community, and uh, they will share some insights about what are the skills that you need and what are the current trends of the UX, so you can be prepared. And also, if you have a good relationship with the seniors or ones who are already in the UX field, you you will come across a lot of opportunities, and they might even be able to introduce you to the people who can introduce you to better opportunities. So never hesitate to reach out to designers and get their help. So we have completed another step in our job search. So we learned about our uh, job titles in the field, and we reflected back on ourselves, and we learned and practiced the skills that we have and that we need to have. And let's see what's the next step. Once you have learned the skills, it is a must to know how to present your skills or work. This is a diagram which represents the UX design process. There are a lot of diagrams on the internet which represents the UX process or the design thinking process. This is just one of them. As you may already know, design thinking process is not a linear process, it's an iterative process. So, if when you are presenting your work, if you are only focusing about presenting good looking UIs, that's not enough. When you are getting hired, it's important for you to show what was your thinking process behind a certain design that you did. It is what actually adding value to you as a designer. So make sure to show what you did at each stage, and it doesn't have to be always perfect. You could show, for example, you could show a drawing that you did before you came into some high fidelity wireframes, or you can show starting from the research, you can show how you collected those data and how you interact, how you interviewed and searched those data, and what are how you came came into the analysis stage and the personas you created. Make sure to make at least one case study including all these steps, so that they can know that you there's more to you behind ju- just a good looking UI. Let's assume you have learned about the job titles, you have learned the skills, you have practiced them, and you also have some proof to show, but you still don't have a portfolio website. Should you be worrying about this? I know in most job vacancies they ask for an online portfolio, but should you actually worry about it? My answer is no. You can still share your work in a more presentable manner and organized manner, even if you don't have a portfolio website. Your work, the presentation of your work can be still in a XD file or a Figma file, and if you can share it with your recruiter, it will also be fine. Or it could be an offline portfolio which you made into a PDF, and if you can share it using OneDrive or Google Drive, that would also be fine. And it could be that you don't have a portfolio yet, but once you start interviewing and once you face the interview, there will be a way for you to present your work, and if you can even organize them as images, that would also fine. The key is You don't have to be intimidated by seeing all those nice portfolio websites on the internet. You can, if you can still prove that you have a better understanding about the principles and the UX design thinking process, and if you know what you are doing, if you can prove that your interviewer at the interview, that would be uh, more than enough as a beginning stage. So now you know how to present your work and your skills. Understand the types of companies is the next step. So when you look at the companies that are listed in the job vacancies, there are startups and small companies, there are big companies, and there are design agencies, advertising agencies, and freelancers. For all of these companies, there are advantages and big disadvantages. For example, if you are working at a startup as a designer, the work you do will make a huge impact on the product. But if you are working at a big company, your individual contribution might not have a bigger impact. They still matter, but not as big as the impact that startup made. And in a startup, if you are someone who enjoys structured the work, uh, in a startup, you might not find it uh, that easy. But in a bigger company, if you are someone who enjoys the structure and enjoying processes, that would be a better fit for you. If you are someone who likes to work on your own terms, and if you don't mind working at stretched hours, maybe freelancing is a way for you. I'm just giving some example for it. A better way to do that is to do your own research, and one of the best references for this is the uh, Google Design certificate. They have explained this, and the key here is the key here is to ask yourself these three questions before you start selecting a company. First one is, do you enjoy a lot of structure and process? Or do you like to define your own work and schedule? For example, a, a bigger company might have a very good structure and process, and a startup might let you define your own work and own schedule. Do you value working on a big team, or are you more comfortable working alone? If you are valuing working on a big team, you could select a startup or a big company. If you are enjoy working alone, you could be a freelancer. Do you want to focus mainly on UX design, or are you interested in broadening your skill set? This also leads to another topic which we could talk for hours and hours. That is, when you are first starting, you could either select one specific skill and master it. For example, becoming a visual designer, and you will master the typography, the colors, and the layouts. Uh, or you can select an, an opportunity where it lets you work on the spectrum of the UX design skills. You could be doing the interaction designs, you could be doing the visual designs, and you could be even getting involved with a few of front-end design tasks as well. So in that case, it's a generalized role. At the, at the beginning, if you are going for a generalized role, it will help you uh, to have a better understanding about all the other roles that are involved and have a better judgment about what is the skill that you are more into and select that as your specialization. So with this we are coming to an end, and even though we thought the process of searching for a UX job is something linear like this, it is actually something iterative like this, just like our design processes. So I hope this gave you a better understanding about how it actually goes, and I hope uh, this will this will give you some insights into the fact that you should not uh, hold yourself or be intimidated by the job titles or the portfolios or any of these steps. But the key is you could always keep iterating and keep improving yourself. And I want to finish with this: if you are not impressed by the first version of your product, you have launched too late. In this case, you are the product, and don't be embarrassed if you fail. That means you are already one step closer to the success. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, Miss Nadika, for that inspiring and wonderful session. So I hope you all enjoyed, and a huge thanks goes out to all the viewers, and a huge thanks goes out to Miss Nadika as well. So the viewers, I hope you gained a mutual understanding on how to get a UX job you desire to have. So please do subscribe to our channel, the SLIIT Women in Force, for more amazing updates and future sessions to come. So till then, take care, everyone. Have a good night.